Okay, so now for section 2, we're going to start looking at how to install Mixpanel on your site. And of course, the first thing when we get into that is some of the different libraries Mixpanel offers. So as you can see here in the kind of reference document, Mixpanel has a few libraries they offer by default, kind of JavaScript for the web apps, mobile libraries, and a few server-side libraries. Now, the preferred format to integrate Mixpanel is, if you're in the web, to use the JavaScript library as much as possible. If you're in apps, of course, use the respective one, iOS or Android. And you really want to use server-side libraries kind of as almost like a last resort if there's something you really need to implement on the server side. And the reason really comes down to what information the library is tracked by default. So one thing we can look at is some of the properties. So we cover properties in the first section and what kind of properties Mixpanel's library store by default. So the JavaScript library, of course, gets to track a lot of things really out of the box: city, region, country, browser, market information like refer domain, UTM tags down here, search engine, screen height, and a few other things. So when you use the server libraries, you get to lose on some of this information. And I've seen setups where a client has created users using the server side libraries, let's say the Ruby library, and the people profiles lack certain market information like the refer domains, and they lack things like browsers and cities. And this really become issues when you start to look at how people are created and perhaps where your best customers are coming from. Maybe you want to look at, what kind of browser do my best customers use? If you don't have this information, you can't really look at that. So ideally, if you're kind of signing up people through the web, you really want to use the JavaScript library as much as possible and use the server side as a last resort. A few other people properties, these are the things that get tracked automatically when people get created, at least through the JavaScript library, of course. And of course, we have iOS, which helps us do a few other things. Same with people and Android. There's a few other things too that get tracked. So this really want to be your main three libraries when you set up your web apps or your mobile apps. And for this project, we'll work with a JavaScript library. So I'll be setting that up, showing you how to set up, sending the first events, looking at the structure. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, it'll be very straightforward. All the events and all the code will be written in JavaScript. And you can translate the same logic and same ideas to the other libraries. Keep in mind that some events might only exist in the JavaScript library. So that's something that you'll kind of find out as you go into different libraries. But the same concepts, super properties and setting properties and people profiles and all these other things, they tend to be pretty universal across the libraries.